This will sound very strange, but the movie Field of Dreams, the most iconic baseball movie ever made, starring James Earl Jones, in which he delivered an iconic speech about how America could be great again, and is a movie about the 1919 Chicago Black Sox cheating scandal, is a prophecy from the righteous Christian God of the Bible that is pointing to the return of Barack Obama as the president again and the Antichrist, after it is predicted that U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash. And this is a prophecy that is predicting that actor James Earl Jones will die on February 17th, 2024. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Although it has been known since the autumn of 2019 that the death of James Earl Jones will be a major prophetic sign, as we can see, this email here documents that this prediction that James Earl Jones will die has been known since at least November 2021. There is zero news of James Earl Jones's health as of the date that this video was posted. Furthermore, the reasoning that I am about to explain confirms that the supernatural is involved with these predictions. Also, I have known that the death of James Earl Jones would be a major prophetic sign from God since 2019. This video is in fact a clip from a longer video, a video titled the King Tut Prophecy video, which is a very profound and very important video that must be watched. Make sure that you also watch the King Tut Prophecy video. All right, one thing to add here is that the 84 million workers sign, as I explained, was a date that was known ahead of time because it was 84 days after the Field of Dreams prophetic sign on August 12th, 2021. That was so long ago that I even sort of forget exactly how I came to learn about the 84 days connection in the first place. I'm sure, though, it was probably because it was realized for other reasons that November 4th would be important. And then 84 being the connection being important as well, because of course it hints at Barack Obama, his birth date, August 4th. All right. And Obama is the Antichrist, who will enforce the mark of the Antichrist, which is the reason for the 84 million workers mandate on November 4th. Everything that I've just explained about November 4th, it being the anniversary of Obama's election, etc. All right, well, the Field of Dreams baseball game, which was the first regular season Major League Baseball game played in Iowa, in the cornfield, next to the cornfield in which the movie Field of Dreams was filmed, the most iconic baseball movie ever made, starring James Earl Jones, and in which he delivers an iconic speech in which he talks about how America could be great again. That date, August 12th, 2021, was exactly 190 months after October 12th, 2005, which was a prophetic baseball game in which Barack Obama threw out the first pitch. And in God's signs, pitchers on the pitching mound are symbolic of the Antichrist on the Temple Mount. Now, there are a lot of things about this prophetic game, which is explained in other videos. But it was a Chicago White Sox playoff game. At the time, Barack Obama was the senator from Illinois. He had just become the senator, in fact. And this was the year that the Chicago White Sox broke their sports curse that had dated back to the 1919 World Series, which is known as the Black Sox scandal, which the movie Field of Dreams is about. The movie Field of Dreams is about the 1919 Black Sox, and hence why in the Field of Dreams game on August 12th, 2021, one of the two teams was the Chicago White Sox. All right, now, as I mentioned, the Field of Dreams game in 2021 was exactly 190 months after this prophetic baseball game on October 12th, 2005, in the year that the White Sox broke their sports curse dating back to the 1919 World Series. In other words, the 190 months connection hints at the number 19. This prophetic baseball game on October 12th, 2005 is exactly 19 years before the Day of Atonement in the Hebrew calendar on October 12th, 2024, which will be the day of the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, when he will defeat the Antichrist on the Temple Mount. And that's why exactly 19 years before this was the day that the Antichrist was on the pitching mound, because pitchers on the pitching mound symbolize the Antichrist on the Temple Mount and his defeat on the Temple Mount. All right. There's more, in fact, confirmation for all of this as well. The game-winning hit was hit by player number 24 that ended the most controversial baseball playoff game in history, in which the Angels should have won. The pitcher for the Angels, number 45, as in the 45th president, he was shoplifted of his win by the umpire with the horrendous mistaken call. Okay. Well, anyway, so God demonstrated this prophetic sign in this baseball game with Barack Obama throwing out the ceremonial first pitch in order to reveal the date on which the Antichrist will be defeated on the Temple Mount exactly 19 years later, because God uses pitchers on the pitching mound as symbolism for the Antichrist on the Temple Mount, hence the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. All right. This game in 2005 on October 12th was exactly 1,091 months, which hints at 9/11, and also hints at the 1919 Chicago Black Sox World Series, after the first commissioner of baseball was given power by the team owners. He was given unchecked power over every person in baseball in a moment of crisis. And this is symbolism for the unchecked power the Antichrist will be given over every American in a moment of crisis. This was on November 12th, 1920, in response to the 1919 cheating scandal, when the Black Sox or the White Sox threw the World Series for sports betting profits. Okay, so the first commissioner of baseball, in other words, is Antichrist symbolism. That's why he came to power exactly 1,091 months before the Obama Black Sox, or rather White Sox playoff game, and 1,091 months hints at 9/11. It is 2 1s and a 9, and God uses this pattern frequently in his signs for symbolism for the big warning of judgment on 9/11 in 2001. All right. Now, the first commissioner of baseball became the first commissioner on November 12th, 1920, exactly 666 days after the 18th Amendment was ratified, which was about prohibition and the restriction on buying and selling alcohol. The 18th Amendment hints, the number 18 hints at 6 plus 6 plus 6, and 666, the number of the Antichrist in Bible prophecy. This is why exactly 666 days after the ratification of the 18th Amendment was the day that the first commissioner of baseball was given unchecked power over every person in baseball. And that is more confirmation of all of the connections, but also that the first commissioner of baseball is symbolic of the Antichrist. Now, the reason why the 18th Amendment is extremely relevant is that it prohibited the buying and selling of alcohol. In Bible prophecy, it says that people will be restricted from buying and selling unless they take the mark of the Antichrist. Okay? And, okay, so now I'll just draw it out for you again here. From the ratification of the 18th Amendment, 666 days to the first commissioner of baseball coming to power, which is in turn exactly 1,091 months to the Obama first pitch Chicago baseball game, playoff game, which is in turn 19 years to the second coming and the defeat of the Antichrist on the Temple Mount. That baseball game is also, again, exactly 190 months, which hints at 19, and the 1919 Chicago Black Sox, to the Field of Dreams game, which is in turn 84 days to the 84 million workers mandate. All right, now, this trail of signs that I am explaining here, that begins with the 1919 Chicago Black Sox scandal and the rise to power of the first commissioner of baseball as a result. All of these connections here involving hints at the number 1919, the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. This, for example, 1,091 months, followed by exactly 19 years, and also exactly 190 months. All of this is what makes this connection right here astounding and profound confirmation that this will be the day that James Earl Jones will die. This connection is 919 days, which also hints at the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. Again, James Earl Jones starred in the movie Field of Dreams, which is about the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. In fact, the 1919 Chicago Black Sox in the movie are standing behind him as he is delivering his famous monologue speech in the movie about how America could be great again, which is what God is pointing to ultimately. He is pointing to this in order to warn America that it needs to repent, or else it will be destroyed in his judgment. Okay, so that's why the 919 days connects to this Field of Dreams game. And by the way, player 99, Aaron Judge for the New York Yankees, was a major part of this sign. Now, I forget the details. I can't remember everything. I made a video about all of this in 2021, and I will post it again, I think. But anyway, the point is that God was using Aaron Judge in his signs, because the number 9 in his signs symbolizes judgment. That's why Aaron Judge wears number 99. But also, this lines up, and for this purpose, to the first commissioner of baseball, whose name was Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis. He was a famous judge. He was made the first commissioner of baseball. His name includes the name Mountain. Strange name for parents to name someone, but that is his name, Kennesaw Mountain Landis. And mountain is a high place. And the name Bama in Hebrew means high place. And that's also the reason for this. And pitchers on the pitching mound, who symbolize the Antichrist on the Temple Mount, is also high place symbolism. Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis died in 1944, which also hints at the 44th president. And that also, by the way, confirms this 44 days connection here, because it is predicted that 44 days after James Earl Jones will die will be the day of a solar flare that will hit Earth and knock out America's power grid, which will be part of the crisis surrounding the rise of the Antichrist. This, in his God's signs, is being described with a metaphor of a lion's roar, which is explained in other videos. And that's why James Earl Jones was the voice of the Lion King in the movie The Lion King. Also, it is predicted on the day that James Earl Jones will die, the historic barge that has been stuck on the rocks of the Niagara River since Spanish flu, which was in 1918 and 1919, will crash over Niagara Falls. And that's also relevant too, because, well, it hints back to what we're talking about here with the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. But 1918 is also relevant because, although many people don't know this, the first World Series that was thrown for sports betting profits was actually the 1918 World Series. The world caught on to it in 1919, but actually the 1918 World Series was the first World Series to have been thrown. And that World Series was thrown by the other Chicago team, the Chicago Cubs, which is more confirmation symbolically in God's signs that Chicago is the corruptest city in America, which is the reason why the corrupt Antichrist president is from Chicago. But anyway, so that's also going to it's predicted to happen on the same day. And I think that's worth pointing out in this video too, because the prediction of the death of a 93-year-old man, arguably, although I think it is, if you've got the precise date and you've got, well, I should say, all of these connections here prove beyond a doubt that this is a prediction from God. You'd have to be completely irrational and spiritually a hater of God to not recognize that. But that is a lot, it is a spiritual thing to be able to see things. And so many people won't be able to see it, and they'll just say, oh, well, he was 93, so no big deal. But if you hear the explanation in this video, of course, you would realize that that's completely irrational. However, to be able to predict the day that James Earl Jones will die and the day that the barge will crash over Niagara Falls, which has been stuck on the falls, on the river for over 100 years. Well, of course, that proves everything as well, that it isn't luck that I'm predicting the death of James Earl Jones on this date. Anyway, Niagara Falls is known for the production of hydroelectricity, and it'll be explained in other videos, but that's also why it connects to the day that the power grid will go out due to a solar flare, lion's roar on the surface of the sun. I think we are done with this diagram here. This is truly, truly profound. I'm going to cut this out and make it a clip in a separate video, a shorter video, just because it is so important. One other thing too, the 1918 World Series that was thrown by the Chicago Cubs was played against the Boston Red Sox. Okay, and so these are the three teams that had these absurdly long droughts of not winning a World Series. The three teams, if anyone knows baseball, they know what I'm talking about, are the Chicago Cubs, Boston Red Sox, and Chicago White Sox. All three of these teams won the World Series during the time that Barack Obama was in Washington, D.C. in power, either as the senator from Illinois or the president. There's a reason for that, is because the curse of the Antichrist symbolism here is parallel with these sports curses. But the reason for these sports curses is because these are the teams that were involved in throwing the World Series for sports betting profits. And so anyway, those three teams all include colors, because you have the White Sox, Red Sox, and the Chicago Cubs' nickname is the Blue Bears. So you have red, white, and blue, which is symbolic of America, which is hinting at the curse of the Antichrist on America. Another quick thing that I'll add here too, because I don't know when I'll ever get a chance to get this information out into the world again. It's probably in another video, an older video, I'm sure. But anyway, the 1918 World Series was won. The last game of the series was on 9/11 in 1918. And that was exactly 1,260 years, or sorry, months. 1,260 months after 9/11 in 1813. Okay, now why is that relevant? Well, first of all, 7 times in Bible prophecy, the period of the Antichrist in the end times is symbolized by a period of time of 1,260 days. And again, we have the Chicago White Sox here and the Chicago Cubs, and the Chicago Cubs in this case, throwing the World Series exactly 1,260 months after 9/11 in 1813. Okay, the reason why the Boston Red Sox were in this World Series in 1918, by the way, incidentally, and not a coincidence, designed by God, in other words, is that 1918 is the year of Spanish flu. The curse of these baseball teams line up with that because the CVD disease is a curse from God designed to bring about the Antichrist, and the mark of the Antichrist, which is the CVD disease thing that is put inside of people. Okay, so 1,260 months back exactly to 9/11 and 1813, and that was the day. Oh, and so in Boston is symbolism for America, and so that's, and especially the Boston Red Sox in God's signs. The Boston Red Sox and the New England Patriots because of the spiritual founding of America being in New England. All right, so we go back to 9/11 and 1813, and that was the day that the British landed at Washington's Mount Vernon estate. The Mount Vernon estate and George Washington are very important in God's signs in general, as explained in other videos. After the British landed, they proceeded to burn down the White House and the Capitol building. And George Washington's portrait was miraculously saved by the president's wife. So anyway, this was the only other time in history in which a foreign enemy attacked the nation's capital other than on 9/11 and 2001. 9/11 and 2001 was exactly 188 years after 9/11 in 1813. And that is extremely profound because God frequently uses this number 188 because the 188th word in Strong's Hebrew Old Testament Concordance is the word woe, is the Hebrew word for woe, exclamation mark, which is used in the context of extreme judgment from God in the Bible, including in the book of Revelation, for example. In fact, there are 3 woes in the book of Revelation, judgments that will be coming upon the world. Okay, so you get that now? So the 1918 World Series connects to actually 9/11 extremely profoundly. The lion's roar, the solar flare on the surface of the sun, will knock out the nation's power grid and induce food rationing, a food shortage. And this food shortage will be used by the Antichrist and Antichrist system to enforce the mark of the Antichrist. Only those who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, the thing that you can't talk about for 84 million workers, is the mark of the Antichrist, and one will not be able to buy or sell food unless they have taken the mark of the Antichrist. And this is how the restriction on buying and selling alcohol with the 18th Amendment in 1919, I believe it was January 16th if I recall, and that's why in this trail of signs, it connects to the coming solar flare on the sun that will knock out the nation's power grid, which will lead to the restriction of buying and selling food to those who have to only those who have taken the mark of the Antichrist. So you see here, this is so profound. We have this amazing connection from prohibition and all of this Antichrist Obama symbolism connecting to the coming food rationing and restriction on buying and selling food to only those who have taken the mark of the Antichrist. Also, it isn't a coincidence at all that the flu that is named after people that are from Spain, you know what I'm talking about, occurred in 1918 and 1919. That supposedly killed 50 to 100 million people. 1918 and 1919 are the years that the 2 World Series were thrown. In other words, cheating. And that's why all of this connects. These baseball signs connect to these years. Because the truth about the flu that is named after people that are from Spain is that it was induced, it was caused. It wasn't what people think it is. It was a contagious bacterial pneumonia. And it was caused by I'm using my words carefully here, by the things that were done in a scientific research type of way. You can figure out the word that I'm trying to say there. Begins with an X and ends with an ment. Okay, so anyway, that it was caused by this research at Fort Riley in Kansas on the soldiers on their way to the trenches in World War I. And that's the truth. And I don't want to get into any more regarding that, but the point is that what was being done there, the research, was primitive things. It was the primitive beginning of the thing industry that caused it all. But anyway, that's what God is pointing to there. And also the symbolism in cheating is relevant to what I have just said as well. But make no mistake, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction The reason for this prediction from God is to prove everything that I have just said in this video, including the last minute, the information that I have just said in the last minute. And in case you still don't agree, believe me, I know far better than you why God has given me a voice through this prediction. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Please leave a like and upvote the video. And once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more. Don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, TrumpPrediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the BitChute.com or the Odyssey.com channel. And do it now in case you aren't able to later.